Yeah. It's the mafia. Yeah.
He's a monkey with cymbals in his hands instead of just catching the foot.
And
that's this.
They're giving us like a 24-hour go feed. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a Bill City. Yeah, a Buffalo Bill City. Yeah, we got Josh Allen, got Steph.
I know they mentioned something about an ultrasound to check the nerve endings and everything.
Hopefully
else
he's
like
not pregnant. That would
Hopefully
be
not
a disaster. I hear that's a 9-month timeline to recover from at the minimum, is what I've heard.
Yeah, Ike McKenzie on a jet sweep. Maybe it's a fake. Honestly, it's a TD either way when you got Josh Allen making plays. Win a ball before we get a new stadium.
Someone's making a new Twitter at some point. Maybe we should do that.
Honestly, I'll just start a shared Google Doc, and that'll be our new Twitter. That'll be our new Twitter.
Just people just adding shit in.
Anonymous hedgehog is saying "fuck your mom." Like.
This is our team forever. It is forever. We got Josh Allen, got Steph.
Folks, welcome in to a brand new episode of the Crowd Says podcast presented by Trainwreck Sports. Wake here, who remembered not only to unmute myself, but to take this thing off from the background. And actually, that's all I had to remember to do. But I did it, and that's a big step for me. And another big step is having my great pal, Jake Micah here. Jake, a fantastic big step for the Bills this weekend, taking care of business against the Dolphins in dramatic fashion, and I love the way they did it. But before we get into it, I do have to tell you guys, we are sponsored by Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case. It was a cold one against Miami, and if you were staying warm, I know you stocked up at Outlet Liquor because they got wine, they got spirits, they got seltzers, they got everything you need to stay warm at a home Bills game, whether it's in the regular season or in the playoffs. And it looks like the way we're trending right now, Outlet Liquor, it looks the way we're trending right now, we could be seeing multiple home Bills playoff games this season, and Outlet Liquor can make sure you are set to be ready for all of that. So, Jake, they took care of Miami, like I said, dramatic fashion. And my favorite thing about this game was that, at first, Robin Mundy from the Buffalo fan base is supposed to be here. Really bad weather in Wyoming. It's super cold. Her Wi-Fi is just giving out. And also, it's supposed to get even colder, possibly feels of -40 through the night. So stay safe out there, Robin. Stay warm to her and all of our friends in Wyoming. But what I love most about this Miami game from this weekend is that the Bills controlled the clock to end both halves and came away with points on both of those drives. Now, it could have been better to end the first half. Could have been better. It was great. It was fantastic. It just could have been, and Josh Allen and Sean McDermott both acknowledged it would have been nice for that pass to be thrown before there were zeros on the clock. But anytime Josh Allen is rolling out to his right, we know that a touchdown is going to be thrown. When we see him directing, we know he's conducting the symphony in the end zone, and James Cook comes out and just plays a solo, and it was beautiful to watch. And it gave me a lot of hope going forward, because I think what we could maybe say is Sean McDermott's weakest point of his coaching so far is clock management, game management. And I don't know if it's Ken Dorsey being a part of the offense here now, but this both halves, the clock till the very end, not giving the Dolphins another look at it. You can't ask for anything more than that.
Yeah, I mean, they've been able to do that, I think, in a lot of situations this year. And it honestly, that was the first note I had, was it was all literal perfection of how you would want it, besides after the fumble, obviously, which started the fourth quarter.
Sure.
The moment after that, the way the defense played to hold them to a field goal when it's 26-21 in that moment, that could be a 2-possession game real quick. The defense does their job, holds it to a field goal, and then it's a great drive right down the field, getting it to Knox in the end zone. Defense gets another stop. And then, I mean, like you said, this 6-minute drive here, it looked eerily similar to me to the drive from the game against the Ravens, where they were able to basically do the same thing, kneel the ball down to kick a field goal at the end. And that's why it was so surprising. You notice like Mark Sanchez being like, this is so cocky. What are we doing here? Blah, blah. It's like, Why would you want to give them the ball back? Why would you want Tyreek Hill to have a chance to score a touchdown to tie the game when you could just trust Tyler Bass to kick it? I didn't really understand that. Yeah, it was perfectly done. We've seen McDermott in these situations, struggle sometimes, but this game it was perfectly done, and it's why that they came out in this game is really situational football between clock management,
absolutely,
and between the first half really, finishing drives when the Dolphins weren't, and it was classic cliche of trading touchdowns for field goals. The Bills were on the right side of that, and the Dolphins. That's where I think the Dolphins, they're kicking themselves, because if they take advantage of just one of those opportunities, we might be talking about a different game. So it was a lot of good from the Bills. I would be remiss to say, though, I still don't know what is going on with these third quarters, because that's where they let Waddle and Hill get loose. And the third quarters have been a story basically all season. For years. And I just it's crazy. But when you can so effortlessly have a quarterback do that in the fourth quarter, I mean, what can you say, right?
Yeah, what can you say? And you bring up Mark Sanchez. The bar I was watching the game at was collectively making fun of him during that game. Like, God,
he was pretty bad. Yeah,
terrible. Like they were just like such like. It felt like every time they spoke, it was bringing in a ref to tell us what we were already seeing. Like anything they brought no new knowledge, no nuance, no perspective to that game whatsoever. And it was maybe one of the best regular season games we'll see this season. Top 10 for sure, just because there's been a lot of really good games. One of them happening earlier that day with Matt Ryan blowing a 33-point lead, which I heard someone say is just 28-3 with inflation, which I thought was fucking hilarious.
That's great.
But the Bills won, but the crew up in the booth definitely lost that game.
They're first of all, they're Fox guys, so they don't like. It felt like they didn't know the teams at all that they were watching, really, and that it's a shame. The NFL, there are so many better options they could have put in that spot, taken from. But Sunday really did need every bit of announcers that they could get, because Sunday, we just had. The weekend that we had between starting from Saturday all the way through Sunday night,
the World Cup,
the World Cup,
everything. Man. And the one Buffalo parlay hit on Saturday night, Bills and Sabres. If you could bet on the Bandits, that would have been too good to be true. That would have been too good to be true. And I only put $50 on it, and I said on Twitter I should have put my life savings on that, because it just felt too. The Sabres.
You would have been a little nervous.
Well, I would have been much more nervous, but the Sabres were playing in a college arena, and the Bills were playing in what was a snow globe game by the end of the fourth quarter. And that was just it. I had people who don't even love football saying that they were sorry. My cat just came out of a cardboard box like it was getting birthed. Holy shit! I had people texting me saying that this game, it made them emotional, and they're not even sports fans. And I'm like, see, this is it. This is the quintessential emotional regular season Buffalo Bills game that. Not only do they clinch a playoff berth for now the fourth straight year, I believe 4 straight years now, they also are a mere 1 win away from clinching the division. And I think they are finally coming into form in a lot of different ways. We saw the offense start to do some of that quick passing again, which I want to talk about in a little bit. But I think the biggest thing out of this game that has me optimistic from a personnel standpoint is a little first-round rookie named Kyer Elam, who his last month and this entire season for him has not been very traditional for any rookie, let alone a first-rounder who was so highly coveted as a cornerback like he was. Easily the most physical, the most athletically gifted cornerback in this last draft class. And this is why I wanted to have Robin Mundy on tonight. And so, I'll tweet at her to get her perspective on this, because she looks at a lot of this from a sports psychology perspective. For anyone who isn't familiar with Robin Mundy from the Buffalo fan base, one of the great minds and great human beings that we have in this fan base. And, it can't be easy. It can't be easy coming into rookie training camp having an undrafted guy basically unseat you as the front runner to be CB2 or CB3, no matter what way you look at it. Basically have someone who some people thought might not make it into the NFL, clearly by his draft status, and Christian Benford, take your spot away from you. And you said it last week, if there was any game for them to unleash him after whatever has been going on, this would be the one. And you were damn right about that, because in 18 snaps in coverage, he was only targeted 4 times. He only allowed 2 receptions, 11 yards allowed, but -2 yards after contact. And we know some of these corners, Dane Jackson, even Christian Benford, really bad tacklers. Even Trey White, fantastic in coverage, but not
And
the
it
best
happened
tackler.
again.
And it happened again. But Kyer Elam was amazing in coverage, only got targeted less than 25% of the time he was out there in coverage, and held people to -2 yards after contact or after the catch. Everything you want from your first round rookie.
Everything you could ask for. Yeah. I mean, and I do wish that we were hearing Robin's perspective on this with the sports psychology, so I could run my Sean McDermott sensei theory that I ran last week,
Art
because
of
I
war,
still feel like that was part of what was going on here. Then he came out and balled out and was really important to them. And the biggest thing you made a mention of is the tackling and the physicality he brings, because I think that's my biggest issue with the defense. I mean, it was on the Hill touchdown. There were multiple other occasions in that, the Mostert run at the end or at the beginning earlier in the game. It's something that's happened to them all year long. But talking about Elam coming back, it was a strong effort. And I think he is definitely cornerback 2 for now, but are we sure that he's going to play over Christian Benford when he comes back? Like, I don't know about that still. I still feel like Benford might. They've liked Benford a little more than Elam ever since he was in, and Benford is only out obviously because of injury, but I still feel like he factors in huge to whatever their plans are for the playoffs.
I feel like at this point, it's Elam's spot to lose. Like, going up against Tyreek Hill, going up against Jalen Waddle at times, but really he was used on Tyreek Hill for the most part. I mean, that is, I've said it on the show, that's the MVP of the season if the Dolphins were to win this division. That's Tyreek Hill. That's who he is. That's the kind of season he's having. And, for his 2 games under 100 receiving yards, to come against the Bills, one of them to come where Kyer Elam is doing a lot of work on him and jamming him at the line of scrimmage. I do think it could be a lot of matchup-based stuff too. You're not going to need someone like Kyer Elam who's extremely physical, kind of grabby on every single receiver. Maybe there are some people who Christian Benford will go who match up better with. He's a much better zone corner. So it could, honestly, there might be games where we see in the playoffs one of them inactive, and then the next game, if we play the Dolphins again, we would see Kyer Elam back in the lineup. I don't want that to happen. I would like both of them to be active. Especially, I feel like Cam Lewis, God bless him, but he almost lost us this game. I feel like Kyer Elam and Christian Benford have both proven their worth to both be on this roster. It's just a matter of spots. That's all it is.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have. Great problem to have.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that split happens, because I think Trey, even though he's still battling back, he had a lot of good moments. I was calling for a pick like every single time the defensive possession in the second half, because he was so close so many times. Yeah, he had a couple times, but yeah, definitely a good problem to have. But that Benford and Elam are it's going to be interesting to see in those biggest moments against potentially, but if it's potential, I guess we're going to see it. You know what? Benford, when can he come off of IR? Is it after this week?
I believe it's after this week. I believe the tweet I saw earlier is Crowder can come off for the Bears game and Benford can come off after.
So I don't think Benford would get a full workload against the Bengals anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. But thinking of it like that, like they need both those. They need, or they at least they can use both of those guys in those types of matches.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And people are now saying, like, Taron Johnson, unsung hero. Like, no, he's well sung. He is a well-sung individual. Like
He's paid. He's fine.
He's paid. He's great. Like I don't every time there's a game in prime time. He almost did it again. He almost came away with the pick on that third down stop that he had where the announcers were wondering why aren't they running the football, and I'm like, if they plan on going for it, like sure, whatever. They didn't end up going for it. So I did kind of agree with Mark Sanchez on that. Credit to Mark Sanchez. They should have run the football more in the second half. But he's just. I have the card of his. It's like a Panini Moments card of the pick against the Steelers in prime time. Or no, the Ravens. The Ravens playoff game. That's what it was. And he is just one of those guys who has that clutch gene in him. We saw it against the Chiefs when he iced the game there. And honestly, if he came away with that interception, he probably was going to the house for that one again as well. So, this team can win in a multiple of ways. It's fantastic to see. If we need the defense to clutch up, guys like Taron Johnson are just going to make it possible. And with Von Miller out for the rest of the season, that just becomes even more important.
Definitely. Yeah, it's everybody's gonna have to step up in that secondary at some point. Taron Johnson, he's like you said, he's gotten the notoriety he needs. I feel like people just like casually watching don't realize that he's out there 99% of the snaps or something until they watch Bills games. They're like, oh, that guy is everywhere on the field. It's like, yes, he is.
Yeah. Casual viewers like Justin Fields. You saw that video today, right?
Yeah.
Michael Poyer. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And our Mike linebacker.
At least he knew the last name. I think that's a positive step.
I think he accidentally combined Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, but said Michael. That's my theory.
He was having a rough time though. He had a rough conference today.
Did he really? I didn't see it.
He made a joke that he had to like pause himself on, like a literal like say pause, like in a media thing. I'm not gonna devolve it for the podcast. You can I'll send it to you later. But he just like I just think he didn't know how to speak. It sounds like in this whole press conference because I didn't know that he messed up Bills players' names, and now you didn't know that he. Wow. I don't know. Maybe he was. Yeah. Who knows? Come on, Justin.
Yeah. Is that like I was gonna joke about concussions, but we're not gonna joke about concussions on this podcast.
But are we pretty wrapped up with Miami? Because I feel like besides the only thing I haven't mentioned is that it was literally like just picturesque. Like as the Bills start scoring, the snow starts coming down, it starts looking like everybody thought it was going to. Like it was just everything you could want, and still don't take for granted what the perfection we got to see from the quarterback position all game long, rushing, passing, everything. Like
the last thing for me on it is the quick game in the first half really, really worked. I would like to see them stick with that a little bit more. And the last one is that lock of the week every single week is at the start of the fourth quarter. Bet the over on Josh Allen's rushing total if it's a close game. There's your lock of the week. I don't know how often it hits, but it's got to be somewhere around 100%. So
that's a great. I'm writing that down.
Look at you writing it down. While you're writing that down, I'm going to tell everybody about our great friends at Picasso's Pizza. When I moved to Hamburg, I did not know. I had no idea they had a location out here in Hamburg. Literally right across the corner, around the corner. I live on Southwestern by the Walmart, and honestly, 3 minutes from the stadium, between me and the stadium, there's a Picasso's Pizza, and that has been absolutely life-changing. Their cup and char pepperoni, the Parmesan cheese they dust on top of it, fantastic. Some of the best pies in Buffalo, and being from Long Island, I do now call them pies, and I do now know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to them. Picasso's is legit. Support our great friends at Picasso's. I am an expert. I am. I'm also man enough to admit that thin crust pizza has its place in this world. I'm man enough to admit that now.
I think I'm open to all walks of pizza. So
very big of you. Very big of you, Jake. I could learn a thing or two from you.
I haven't really had a choice. I mean, I've had to live in thin crust territory. Buffalo pizza different. Now here in Chicago, It's a different world, different animal.
Yeah, it's more like soup there. Do you think deep dish is like soup?
More like soup. Like kind of like lasagna. Yeah.
Like a bisque? I don't know.
I would never. I mean, it's just a different experience,
Mhm.
you know. But
Well,
there is some
yeah.
good. Honestly, I think my favorite pizza is Detroit style pizza and Jets Pizza. Shout out Jets.
All right.
That's my favorite place I've had since it's back here in Chicago. That place is so
Well,
good.
speaking of Detroit style, I mean, it's not confirmed by any means that this is being considered, but the Bills could be maybe the first team other than the Lions to play 3 or more games in Detroit in one season. The weather for this weekend, again, is going to be something to monitor, to say the very least. What are you're in the Chicago area, and I have heard a different thing about the weather from everyone I've talked to about it who doesn't live there. So you tell me, what is the weather going to look like over the weekend? I know that you're leaving Thursday morning to come back to Buffalo for Christmas, and you should be missing the weather narrowly, right?
So the storm watch starts really. It's Thursday night at 6 o'clock is when the winter storm watch starts. The snow is going to start like Thursday afternoon into Thursday night. The biggest thing is the the wind in Chicago is going to get up to 55 miles per hour Friday, Thursday night, Friday, all day Friday, which makes it tough for travel. So we don't know what the heck's going on. I mean, a lot of people.
Naturally.
We don't know a lot of people what the Bills are doing, what fans are going to be doing. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of issues going on, especially back and forth because the storm is moving into the Buffalo area over the weekend too. But by Saturday, and by the time we're talking game time, it's really looking more like 30. Let me look at exactly what the winds say now. But last time I looked yesterday, it was like 25 to 35 mile per hour winds and clear skies and everything. Windy with blowing snow is what we're looking at right now. So it's not going to be ideal conditions, but we might end up escaping some crazy weather that is supposed to hit the Chicago area, like blizzard. It basically on the AccuWeather page just says blizzard, which is never a good sign. So right now it says about 30 mile an hour wind gusts with real feel of negative 13. So it's going to be a cold one in Soldier Field.
It's going to be a cold one. And the question is, I don't know if that weather enough is to move the game based on like the gameplay itself. I think the biggest concern, as we kind of mentioned before this show, is physically getting a team there, right? Because the Bills would have to leave Thursday morning at the latest.
Couldn't they play it Monday night? They play Monday night already against the Bengals. The Bills do at least. The Bears, whatever. Like they could play Monday to Sunday. And you would delay all your travel but you don't really, I'm sure they don't want guys to have to travel on Christmas Day, but might not have another option. But that still doesn't, the Bills are kind of screwed either way though, because it's going to be bad in Buffalo by Saturday and Friday. Well, Friday, really, it's going to be bad.
Yeah. So, like, no, I don't even, I'm just looking at the calendar here. Like, the options, pulling it up. My computer's slow. I'm not going to worry about the calendar. Bottom line is that, we're probably going to know, we have to know within the next 2 days, really, whether this game is being moved or not. I can't imagine they would make anyone travel on Christmas. I really feel like the Players Association would have something to say about that. And like you said, the Bills
there are games taking place on Christmas though, so like they might just be like,
that is true,
or Christmas Eve even, but like I don't.
Mm-hmm. But from the on-field perspective, though, let's say it goes off as planned. They play it in these 40 possible mile-an-hour wind conditions. That, like, yes, you draft Josh Allen to be able to throw in these conditions, whatever the hell that really means. But I don't know if there's an arm strong enough in the NFL to cut through 40 mile an hour gusts, especially with what's going on with his elbow. you see, like, when teams are attacking when he's running with the football with it in his right hand, he's been fumbling it more lately. It's been happening because, it makes sense. And honestly, I'm watching the game on Saturday night, and I'm thinking, why doesn't he just start carrying it with his left arm? Like, honestly, like, you got to get used to it. But, like, I feel like that might be something that if we see that this weekend and going forward for the rest of the season, I would not be shocked at all. But I honestly think that if the game goes off as planned, as scheduled, we might see 250 combined rushing yards between Josh Allen and Justin Fields.
I would agree with that. I couldn't agree more with that. I think that's just thinking on the field side. I think that it's not even as much to do with the Bills defense and the tackling as much as that's just what he's been doing kind of to everybody this year.
Exactly.
Rushing the ball. But that's what it might take. We have 30, if you're talking 30 to 40 miles an hour, like it's going to be tough. There's going to be some passing. They're going to try it. We saw them try it against the Patriots last year, but realistically, it's not going to be a lot of it. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But there's so many variables. We're still so early in the week. I feel like who knows what, weather-wise, we got to monitor it, but it could be a million different things, to be honest, here in Chicago by Saturday. You guys, everybody knows how that goes. It's the same back home in Buffalo too. Like, we'll see what happens, but hopefully they can just get here, get the game off, and get everybody safe and everything. That's the biggest thing. But it's going to be crazy here. I mean, it's supposed to be like Friday is legit 60-mile-an-hour winds and snow, like a couple inches of snow. So that creates some chaotic conditions.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, under normal circumstances, under normal weather, I would probably pick the Bills to win this game by 20. Honestly, I would. I think the Bears are frisky. They're fun. Justin Fields is a very good young quarterback, but there's nobody on this defense that can't keep up with Chase Claypools, with Cole Kmet, with whoever, Darnell Mooney, with whoever they have going back there. The weather is the great equalizer here.
I don't make that is true, and that's what makes this. It could have been such a potentially interesting game because we would have gotten direct, like, week by week of the Bills and the Eagles standing next to each other against a similar opponent, and even though it's the Bears, whatever, and just see like how did both these teams fare against the same team that presents a similar problem that both of those teams would have to face against each other in the Super Bowl, and that is a dynamic rushing quarterback. And we saw Hurts was dominant last week, man. Hurts,
he was. AJ
Brown and Devontae Smith both were over 150 yards. Hurts ran the ball really well too. He was the leading rusher for the Eagles. He ran the ball 17 times. Like, he had 3 rushing touchdowns. A couple of those were sneaks. It was easy for him. So Josh Allen, if the conditions can let it, should be able to do the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't like. It's such a hard game to talk about right now. But on the defensive side, they don't have a lot of people that, like, similar to how on offense they have no one that can really test us. On defense, they don't have a ton of guys that are going to be able to stop Stephon Diggs. It's going to be the weather because Josh Allen is going to have to throw the ball with some serious zip on it, but it's also going to be freezing, so it's going to hurt to catch the football. And I feel like we might come away from this weekend with, some fans will be like, oh, we only put up so many points against the Bears, a lot of drops, a lot of miscommunications or something. This game is not going to be one that instills confidence in us. That's what Miami was. That's what that game was. A 32-29 victory against a divisional opponent as time expires. That is a game that will instill confidence in the team, confidence in the fan base. Go Bills, Robbie. Just this weekend, we'll learn a lot more as the week goes on for how this could go, but just be prepared to be frustrated on Saturday. That's all I can say. That's all I can say about this football game at this moment. Is there more nuance from you? Any like sneaky, sharp lean that you have on this other than I don't know. It's just a weird one right now.
Well said. Everybody's been putting this game away as a win for the last couple of weeks, I feel like, and I don't think I ever have. I just think They lost by 5 last week to the Eagles, who have lost one game all year long. Like the Bears have been a frisky team with a lot of good teams this year. Their record is not what the team that they are, and Fields is been the most dynamic rushing quarterback maybe of this year. I think that's, and that presents a problem for a Bills secondary that we've seen have trouble tackling and making plays in the open field. He does it to everybody. Like, it's not even just if they were one of the best teams, he's still been doing it. I mean, just think about this. They lost to the Eagles by 5. They did get blown out by the Jets. So that is, at the Jets there, but only losing to the Lions by 1 point. They only lost to the Dolphins by 3, got blown out by the Cowboys, but put up 30 points against them. Yeah, it was. And after the Patriots game is really when they unleashed Fields. They have not won a game since then, but like the public perception because of what Fields has played like on that run has just skyrocketed. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting game. I still think it's like I think the Bills could win like 31-20 or something like that. And that's around would make you have like an 11-point win or something. That's where I'm at. But it really does depend on the weather. If it's 50-mile-an-hour winds that kick up, in the morning off Lake Michigan, no one's throwing the ball. And then we're in a different kind of ball game there. Right now, the Bills are a 9-point favorite going into the week. And the over-under is set at 40. So they're expecting 9 points at 40. What do you have to win? What is that like?
Like 25 to 16-ish. 25 to 16-ish.
Yeah, 24-15, I guess. Yeah. No, because that's
somewhere in there.
Yeah, something like that.
24 and a half to 15 and a half. Yeah, that would be where it is. Look at that quick math. We figured that out together. That was huge.
Yeah, so you're looking at like we're talking football scores like 27-17, 27-16, something like that. I could see something like that for sure.
Yeah, no, I feel like they're right on the money with this one. I will say, if you want to get ahead of the lines based on more weather reports, possibility of this game moving, feel free. But I really think before you bet your hard-earned money on this, that you should wait until you can make a more, formulated opinion on everything. But that's enough on this. How do we feel through 15 weeks? I don't know that I could really feel much better. The games that they lost, they beat themselves. They made some silly mistakes. The games that they've won in multiple different ways, whether that's the defense getting a stand against Kansas City, whether that's blowing out teams who, people perceived as legitimate playoff threats at the beginning of the season, or whether that's a game-winning field goal, which Tyler Bass, I think, has done as time expires twice now, maybe once if you don't want to say time expires for the Detroit game, but all intents and purposes, like it was as time expires. So
yeah.
The way I feel right now is these Bills are a few mental gaps from being undefeated. And I don't know that we could ask for anything more than controlling our destiny the last 3 weeks of the season for the 1 seed.
Definitely. What more could you ask for, really? I mean, this is how you knew this season. If you're really looking at it, the AFC playoffs today look like what the AFC playoffs should look like coming into the season.
Yeah.
I think if you were thinking realistic expectations for everybody, the 3 best teams are the 3 best teams we thought they should be.
Sure.
Throw them in a hat, pick one of them out. They're probably going to be the Super Bowl team, and maybe it could be the Ravens if Lamar comes back and is healthy and looks good. I think that's where we've always been. So, yeah, control your own destiny. This is going to be a tricky game. I think you still have it, but all eyes are really looking ahead. I think in the NFL world right now, first we got this Cowboys-Eagles game, which lost a little luster with the Hurts news today. But all eyes
gained luster with the Gardner Minshew news.
True.
Depending on what we look at.
I like the positive spin. But I think after this week, it'll be all eyes on Cincinnati for that matchup next week, and we'll learn our last big lesson about the Bills before week 18 and subsequently a playoff berth, which is, again, not taken for granted. Clinched a playoff berth with 3 games left.
Yep.
It's great.
It's great.
I love
great. It. And just like you said, playoffs are shaping up how we thought they would in the AFC. That means that the Jags They're
back.
gonna do the damn thing. They're gonna do
They're
the damn
back.
thing.
They got a really
think they're gonna
tricky
do the damn
game
thing.
Thursday night. Really tricky game
Yeah.
Thursday night. They are both. That is two desperate football
That's
teams.
another bad weather game too. Two desperate
Yes.
teams in a bad weather game.
And if it's Zach Wilson playing, I mean, who knows?
All bets are off. All
knows?
bets are off.
Wilson versus Lawrence Thursday night, and they're both battling for playoff spots. Though they couldn't have asked for a better game there. For it to work out, who would have thought? Everybody was making fun of that game before the season, and now it's pretty compelling.
I do recall
you were excited about it.
I drafted this in our
You did.
primetime game draft. I did. Man, wow. You know, I took a lot of Rams games and I got some hate for it.
Let's finish.
What, do you still have that somewhere?
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm sure I do have it somewhere.
I know I took a lot of Rams games. I took a lot of Denver games. And that did not work out at all. But yeah, no, I said that this could be the start of, oh my God, the start of the next great quarterback matchup in the AFC between Lawrence and Wilson. That was not right. My reasoning
that one didn't age well.
No, it aged like
What is
something
that?
really bad.
I hear like music in here right now.
Music? I don't hear music.
In my apartment, there's music going. I'm glad you don't hear it. All right, let's see. You had week 2. Oh no, I had week 2 Chargers at Chiefs, which ended up a decent game Thursday night. You had Bills Rams first as your Thursday night game. Okay, I remember how we did this. All right, Wake. You didn't do well for your Sunday night pick.
I know I didn't. It
didn't even end up a Sunday night game. Yeah, it didn't even end up a Sunday night game. KC at Denver was your Sunday night game.
Oh, no.
That's tough. My Sunday night game was KC at Tampa, which was my first pick of the draft, that was a good game. But Tampa is not what we thought they were going to. But that was a pretty good game. You also had Monday night was last night's game, Baker Mayfield at Aaron Rodgers. Your holiday game was the Rams at the Chargers.
Yikes.
Week 17.
Wow.
Your AFC NFC game was Vegas at Rams a couple weeks ago, which ended up a great game. Great game.
That was a great game. No, I stand by that one. I stand by that. Yeah.
Now, I got Monday Night Football, Buffalo at Cincy. That's a solid pick. But I do have this weekend Denver at LA as my holiday game. Not good.
Okay. Bad. Okay.
Very bad.
There we go.
I also have Baltimore at Tampa, which was a fun game. That was a decent
game.
Yeah,
no, you definitely won this one.
Now here's your 3 bench. No, there's a bench too. You still got 3 benches. Cincy at Baltimore, which was a good game. Week 5.
That was a good game.
Bills at Detroit, Thanksgiving. Great game. And then the aforementioned Jags at Jets was your pick, the last pick of the draft there. I had Packers at Bills, which was a decent game. Denver at Seattle, week 1, which was a fun game. The Geno Smith arrival.
It was, no, that was the start of it all. Yeah.
And then Cincy at Cleveland, which wasn't really a good game. And I don't know why I picked that, but I think Cleveland won pretty easily in that game on Monday Night Football.
Cleveland won. I think it was 32-13. I think that game was. It was not particularly close. So you won the first primetime draft, I think. And we'll do that again at the beginning of next season. But before we get to the beginning of next season, we got to get through this one that continues this weekend or maybe Monday. Who the hell knows? Against the Chicago Bears. I will be live. We're putting together the lineup for Thursday night. Live going around 7 p.m. as usual. Stay tuned for a show announcement on that. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in, listening along. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at CrowdAssistPod. Do all those fancy button type things. Shout out Outlet Liquor, Picasso's Pizza, Fans of Buffalo, Robin Mundy, who unfortunately could not join us, but make sure you give her a follow on Twitter. Miss you so much. Miss you dearly. Love you, and we will chat with you soon. For myself, Jake, Micah, Outlet Liquor, all of Trainwreck Sports, good night now.